welcome back everyone to another week of our Sunday services here at the Kingdom Church with your host, your minister, your prophet, Gary Rojas. Hopefully your week has been wonderful. Hopefully it has been blessed. You have been increasing and learning. Today we're going to be getting into a revelation which is very important, and it's actually going to, propel, right? It's the propelling force of what is going to be happening this year. So I have a lot of faith and I have a lot of hope. And it's a revelation on atmospheres, which I'm going to give today. Hopefully you catch it, so make sure that you're spiritually tuned in and spiritually awakened. Today is also week 5, right, of being here in this location. And I am counting these weeks sort of just as something to keep my mind grounded and, looking towards the future and things of that nature. But before we go ahead and get into the message, I'm also going to be revealing something concerning the vision of the ministry, 2 aspects and 2 parts of it that I want to see actualized and realized this year, or something that might take me a year to do, which I'll reveal in a short second after we pray. But before we go ahead and do any of that, for those of you that are brand new here, don't let the hour scare you away, because the revelation here is worth it. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can be notified every week when we post and see the progress of this ministry and be updated every single week. And be sure to also hit that like button on the video, because that does help with the YouTube algorithm, and letting YouTube know that people are engaging and leaving comments does help as well. All right, so before we go ahead and get into the message, let's just quickly pray and then we'll get started. Father, we just want to thank you, Lord, for everything that you're doing. We want to thank you for all the members, all the viewers, all the partners, all around the world that are tuning in right now in the present time or in the future. And we just pray for this revelation, this message of atmospheres, that those that are watching may catch and may begin to implement. In Jesus' mighty name, amen and amen. All right, so something that you guys already know that I've been mentioning, I've been pretty disciplined, praying every single day for 3 hours, and I've actually been pushing to 4 pretty easily, and I've been receiving the fruits of it. I mean, I can't even begin to tell you the visions that I've been having, the mental clarity, and it's just astronomical. It's so great. I'm so blessed, and I want you guys to enter into that. So, but one thing you have to remember that I always tell you is, if you are still using technology, which it's fine to use technology if you're using it for work or if you're using it to research, but if you're using technology and the internet for personal pleasure or for entertainment, there's no point of you in praying an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours a day, because you're just going to undo everything. Everything that you've just downloaded is going to be lost. It's just not going to be the same. I'm just telling you from experience. So, what is the revelation that is that I wanted to share with you? It's a vision of the ministry. So there's 2 visions of there's many branches of the ministry, many branches, because it's the Kingdom Project. So within the Kingdom Project, there are many branches. And I've already started Kingdom Academy, but you have been seeing the lessons, but you might have not really understood what that vision is. So within this year, I'm going to reveal to you something. It's going to take me a year to do it if I want to do it by myself. But if someone can step up, which is I'm now going to reveal, I actually messaged one of the brothers this afternoon saying, after I want to speak with you and I want to share with you something. Because the Lord revealed to me that it is possible to be able to do it this year with the help of someone, with the commitment of someone. But if I don't have a commitment of someone, that it's going to take me probably 6 to 8 months or a year to actualize it myself, using my own funds and things of that nature. So, what is it? For those of you that are watching, my members, obviously you guys watch all the way through, but for those of you that are brand new, please, just stay tuned, because, a lot of these things are revelational. So, 2 of them, the future is kingdom housing. You may have heard that before, and then obviously Kingdom Academy. So what is kingdom housing? It is the dormitory for college students, right? Kingdom Academy is the college for Christians, right? It is the alternative. Because those of you that watch my videos, you know how I tell you that if you go to college as a Christian, you are stupid, right? You are not doing what God is telling you to do. Because God does not want you to spend $40,000 a year to go into debt just to learn, right? And obviously, that's going to be vlog number 2. So vlog number 2 is going to be coming out where we discuss wisdom. Because the Bible doesn't talk about college. The Bible talks about a business, right? So you know me, I'm a prophet. I stick to the word. Whatever the word says, that's what I do. I don't make any, those are non-negotiables. So the Kingdom Academy, that is the alternative for Christians to be under the tutelage and under the mentorship of me, the prophet. So essentially, the kingdom housing is the dormitory, is when you go to college. When I went to Hartford, right, the University of Connecticut in Hartford, when I was in a junior and senior year looking for colleges to go to, most of the colleges, all it is a bedroom like this. It's one room and you get 2 singles in the room. So one single bed on the other side, one single bed on the other side, and you have your small little desk, and that's basically it with your closet and the stuff, right? And you all live on the same flat, right? So all the men live on the same flat, and then they have the dormitories, right? So that's what kingdom housing is. So I had already tried to do it on myself, my own, and I can. So I looked for loans and I got approved for $150,000. How much are we on time? I got approved for $150,000, right? Just myself. But the only houses that I could buy are in the city of Trenton. And Trenton is not the best place to live, right? Especially if I want, people to somewhat be attracted and, to make the move or it's not the best place to live, right? So that prevented me, because in New Jersey, a lot of the houses, they have attics and basements, right? So those are extra rooms. And typically a lot of houses are 2 to 3 bedrooms. So what the kingdom housing is basically that, right? That I was going to start this year and I was going to offer rooms to rent to the members, right? So for those of you that would want to move to New Jersey, you would essentially rent a room, right? One of the rooms, and there would only be about 3 rooms to rent, 4, well, maybe 6, making the basement into 2, right? So I would essentially take the attic. There would be 3 bedrooms, and then 2 people can split the basement, because basements are typically large, so one takes one half. And then I would rent the rooms for $550 a piece, and then the 2 people that are in the basement, it would be about, since they're sharing the space, about $350. So that right there covers the house of the mortgage, right? Because you do simple math, right? Each room, $550. And this is something that you learn in real estate. This is something that you learn in business, right? $550 times 3, that's $1,650. And then the 2 people downstairs in the basement, $350 each, that's $700. So that's $2,350 in rent, and that includes everything. So that will include your internet, that will include the water bill, the electricity, and the gas. You begin to realize that you can't get a deal like that anywhere else, right? Because the majority of the places you rent, yeah, you can rent them for $600, $700, $800, and they include everything, right? But you're getting it for $550, and you're living in the same house as the prophet, right? So what is that? Proximity and atmosphere. That's the inspiration of this message, right? And then obviously, that benefits me as well, because I'm getting paid $2,300 in rent. If the mortgage of the house is $1,500, then you guys are paying for the mortgage. That's called in real estate OPM, right? So for those of you guys that want to learn about real estate, read about OPM. It's other people's money, right? That you buy a house and then you rent the rooms out, right? But it would be in a town that is not the best place to live. Right, so that prevents me, and said, if I want to get a place in a better town, it's going to take me personally a year, right, to be able to buy a house in the city of Hamilton, which is better and more attractive, where people, yeah, I will rent a room. And essentially, what? then we now go into Kingdom Academy, because the house has the rooms which are the members, right? And in the living room, every Wednesday, every Friday, and every Sunday, what the people will see will just be the members in attendance. And on Wednesdays, we'll have Bible studies, prayer sessions, and they're in the living room. And what we will be doing on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays is everyone will have a full-time job, right? So essentially, I have everything written that the disciples who will be living in the Kingdom House, I will personally mentor them and train them on how to get jobs, right? We'll create their resumes. I will interview you. So I'll ask you all the questions that you will receive in an interview. And I'll say, you sound like you're afraid. You need to change your tone, your confidence, answer the question. So you'll get those mentorship, right? So we'll get you jobs from 7 to 3, 8 to 4, or 9 to 5. And if you don't have a car, it's no problem, because I can just drive you to work. Before I go to work, I can just drive you there. And even if you show up to work an hour, 2 hours before, you're just going to have to deal with it and use those times to pray. And then after work, we come and pick you up. So essentially, what is it? Well, if you read the book of Acts, that's how the first church was. So what are we doing? We're pooling our resources. So we're sticking to the Bible, and we're sticking to the true church, right? So everyone pools the resources. Maybe one of the brothers has his own car, and you guys work at the same time, so he can drop you off and take you to work. And then, well, I'm the prophet. Once we have built up you've built your own savings, we're going to be doing the budget sheet and all that stuff. You have me there, and then I can go out with you and I can help you buy your first car, which will be a used car, right? So you begin to see that you're in the atmosphere. The atmosphere now changes, and it's for your prosperity, right? And well, the best thing would be for everyone to get their own car. They're all working. And then in the evening, so once everyone comes out, if you're 7 to 3, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, we eat at 6 o'clock together. Again, we're pooling the resources as the Bible. When you read the book of Acts, right, it talks about, and everyone shared and everything was in common. So we would eat. And then we would have evening lecture. So I would teach you how to, each day, depending on the day, we would have maybe from 6:30 to 7, whatever is on real estate, 7 to 7:30 on investing. And I will show you. I have a flat screen. So all the things that I have, we would have the flat screen on the thing. I would be in an open trade. So all of you would open a trading account, and I will also teach you how to trade in the markets, so you can make anywhere from $50 to $100 every single day after you get home from work, right? So these things, you will even replicate my trades, that when I enter into a trade, all you have to do is just replicate. So I will teach you that way, and you will be making money. So essentially, what is it? This is the alternative to college. So the best age is anywhere from 18, 19, 20. Because if you join this university, right, this Kingdom Academy, the Kingdom Academy lessons, 1, 2, 3, and 4 so far, right, that's just the virtual stuff. So you can do it where you're at in your city, but this would be the accelerated. Why? Because everything, you have me present, right? So you would have that. So essentially, if you just do the research, right, anybody that goes off to college at the year of 18, by the time they graduate into 22 years old, right, they have anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 in debt, undergraduate, right? If you were going to get into a graduate degree, it's anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000, $140,000. Graduate degree is master's and PhD. Undergraduate is associates and bachelors. So while your contemporaries, right, while the people that gone off to college that listen to the wisdom of the world, you went a different direction, right? So while they graduate college, they're starting their life at 22, right? In debt anywhere from 40 to 100,000. You, by the age that you're 22, under my tutelage, right? But at the time, by the time of those 4 years, because I'm in the present now, right? By the time you join now, in 4 years, I'm already a multimillionaire with my own business, having, ministries everywhere. And, it doesn't really matter, because we're talking about time. Time doesn't exist, right? So even people that are watching this in the future, right, they're going to be maybe in 2025, 2026, by that time, I'm already a multimillionaire with a successful business and doing all these things that in those days, people are going to want to flock. They're going to want a kingdom house. They're going to want a kingdom room, right? Because the benefit of what's going to receive. So essentially, to get in now would be, you're going to learn everything about business, right? You will see me make sales calls. So I make sales calls every single day. You will learn how to negotiate. And it doesn't matter if you, construction, whatever business, I will be able to discern, and by the gift of prophecy, I'll be able to see where you're at, right? And what business you should start. So you will learn everything firsthand. Why? Because you're in the same house, right? So essentially you go off to work, so you have your money, and you're only paying $550 a month, right, to have all the things, and obviously your cell phone, and if you have a car, we'll run your budget sheet. So your net income every month might be $1,000 from your $2,400, $2,500 job. So that $1,000 every month, 3-4 months, that's 5, 6, 7,000, whatever it is, that you can use to invest in your business. So by the time those other people graduate college at 22 years old, they're in debt $60,000, $100,000. By the time you're 22, you'll probably already have $100,000, $200,000, a successful business, and doing all these things, right? And even within the first year, just by you watching me, by being in the atmosphere of the prophet, you'll see what I'm saying. And obviously, every Wednesday, every Friday, every Sundays, we're going to be having those Sunday services. So that's the Kingdom Church. So the Kingdom Church is in the living room. The Kingdom Academy is the tutelage, right, is the college that you're receiving, and then the Kingdom House is the dormitory. So obviously you can see that the future is obviously to have dormitories for women, right? So getting single women, right? And getting apartments where we get an entire complex. And now we have, rather than only 3 bedrooms, now we have maybe 25, right? And then essentially what it is to marry off the academy women to the academy men, right? So it's to create a carbon copy of me that, everything that I'm now telling you is what the Illuminati, the Masons, and the elites do. Everything that I'm revealing to you is what they do themselves. They send their children to the prestigious elite schools, and then their women, they marry off to them, so that way they become, everything stays within the family. So obviously that the women that are there, you as an academy man, you're not going to want to marry any other woman besides an academy woman, because the women that are there are subject to the prophet and they're receiving the same revelation. Whereas if you marry a woman somewhere else, you don't know what revelation they're being raised on, and there's no control because, well, if you marry a woman somewhere else, then that woman is by a different revelation. You're going to have troubles because if she disobeys and is not doing what she needs to be doing, then there's no authority. I can't counsel the woman because she doesn't belong to my church and to this revelation, versus if there's an academy woman who understands the revelation, who believes that I'm a prophet by God, then marrying you guys, your perfect relationship. Why? Because essentially, if the woman is not doing what she's doing, then I can speak to her, and since she's subject to me, she'll change, and then there's unity there, right? And vice versa, that if you, the man, the woman comes to me and say, my husband's not doing this, he's not doing that, then since you're subject to me, and you've gone through the system, I can reprimand you and rebuke you, and then you'll change, and then there's unity there again. So that's the vision. Then you can see, obviously, then the graduates from that would essentially be the headmasters in other cities. So once you guys are married off, or whatever the case may be, and you want to live in California, well, then there's Kingdom Housing, Kingdom Academy in California, with you being the headmaster or the head pastor there, starting the branch there. And then obviously me doing this in other countries as well, right? So that's what I want to do this year. But the issue is money, right? So essentially, if I open this up to somebody, which I'm discussing with one of the brothers that, that I mentioned to him that, I want to discuss with him, it's basically that essentially going in business, wow, we're already 20 minutes in, right? In business, it's obviously, I'm going to make you my equal. Even though I have all this knowledge and all this, essentially in business, that's not how it's done, right? Essentially, there's an inequality that depending on the person who brings the most to the table, they get higher in equity. So someone like myself who understands business and all these different types of things, and you just coming in as a partner, you would essentially get maybe like 25%, 30%, 40% in equity, depending on what that is. right? But me, I'm willing, because of this, because of the faith that is required to even align yourself, I'm talking about atmospheres, I'll make you my equal in business. So if I can get approved for $150,000 just myself, by having what's in mortgage terms in real estate, it's called a cosigner. That if you co-sign with me, we might get approved for a $250,000 house. Do we need a $250,000 house? No. Because as I said, there's a lot of houses in Hamilton where we can get for $190,000, $200,000, $210,000. So essentially, I'll even make you my equal. We'll do 50-50, and you'll get a bedroom, and then I'll take a bedroom. And essentially that leaves, if it's a attic, I'm probably going to take an attic. If you want the basement, you can take the whole basement, and then that leaves 3 bedrooms. Again, $1,650. If the mortgage is $1,400, then the rooms that are rented out pays for the mortgage, and then all we have to do is split the utilities. So if it's $1,300 mortgage, $1,650, that means it leaves about $200 left in revenue. Let's say the utilities is $400. Essentially, it's a $200 leftover, so we have to split $100 each every month. So you can begin to see, if I'm working full-time, I have this benefit. All I need to do is put up an extra 100, and it also becomes a property, an investment. Why? Because essentially, once I leave, because I'm not going to stay there forever, right? Because I'm going to be a millionaire with my own mansion. The house can be, the attic can be rented out, and then that adds to that equity. And then obviously, by you being in my proximity and learning everything, you eventually will move out too, right? Because you, by that time, learning everything, you should already have, a successful business, 100,000, 200,000, going on upwards, that you're going to leave, you're going to want to start your own. And then obviously, the basement can be rented, and the whole house will produce revenue of, $2,000, $2,500. The mortgage is only $14,000. Right, with the utilities, maybe 16, 17. So the leftover equity gets split 50-50, right? But again, that's just that, right? So if I want to be able to do this, I would need, this year I'm saying, I would need one person to split to join the vision, right? To be able to be a co-signer. And essentially what that is, right? Essentially what would happen is, because I'm the prophet, I'm also everything. I'm the prophet, I'm the evangelist, I'm the pastor, I'm the minister, I'm everything. So essentially, once you come home from work, right, and this is talking now to the partner, that, you would learn everything from me, and then there would be days where we'd go evangelize. When I say we, I mean me. So essentially, you're just my servant, right? You would be serving me in the ministry because you're also a member. So I would be the one going out, evangelizing, talking to people, sending and then you also get to see that. And if you want to serve, doing all that and inviting people to the house, right? So on Sundays, inviting them to the living room, right? Inviting them there, because that's the kingdom church, right? That's where the services are going to be held. And so essentially that, right? Me bringing people in, and then once the living room gets packed, once we see that there's growth here and people are receiving miracles, demons are being cast out, right? And there's money flowing into the ministry, I already have a place to go. It's in Princeton. It's called the Marriott. I already know the person, and we can rent out the space there. By that time, now we move the Kingdom Church to the hotel, right? And now, we're there at the hotel, and then once the ministry increases, then we can buy a building and we can do all that stuff, right? But essentially, that's the vision, right? That's the Kingdom Academy. That's the kingdom. So essentially, Kingdom Academy, what you're seeing online is just a virtual of what I'm going to be doing in the physical with the members that are here present, right? So when I said how to start a business, how to be productive, how to do a budget sheet, how to pray, all that stuff, you would probably learn that within a day or two, right? Being in the evening lectures, because again, I'm going to be working. So while you're off working, I'm working too, right? Everyone's working. So everyone's work, and it's only when we come home in the evening that we will eat, and then it will be evening lectures. So we will have the lectures, Bible, and then obviously once the lectures are over, you would just go back into your room as you would in college, and then you would read the Bible, right? You would do your own thing. Obviously, I would do my own thing because I'm running a full-time ministry. There's a lot of things that I have to do with a business and all that stuff. So each individual person is focusing on their future, but they're also benefiting because they're in my proximity and in my atmosphere. And if you honestly believe that I am chosen and called by God, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? So that is open to the members, right? So I'm opening that to the people that are in this book. I'm opening that up to first one of the brothers, right? Which I'm going to discuss with him today. Well, not today. I'm going to have him watch this video first and then discuss with him after. Because he's already somebody that showed interest, that he's actually already decided to move. So he's in New York and he's like, I'm going to go there. But rather than him renting a room, we might as well just go and partner in a house and then rent the other rooms to the other members and then, do it that way. If that's not the case, then I will have to do it myself within a year's time, and you will see the realization of that. Right. So now, what are we talking about? What did I just share with you? I just shared with you atmosphere, right? I just shared with you a revelation of atmospheres, right? And an atmosphere of prosperity. That those of you that are in your city, who in your city do you know has wisdom? It's almost like, what does your city present, right? Because essentially, you don't have to be, I left this part out, the Holy Spirit just remembered me, right? Because you might be saying, how can I participate? Maybe I have a family, maybe you do have a family, and renting a room is, how do you participate? Well, how you participate is simply by moving to Mercer County, New Jersey, right? Because everything will be in a Discord, right? So when you go into the business and corporate world, there's something that's called Teams, Microsoft Teams, or Google Chats, or Google Hangouts, right? That how these corporations, they discuss with their employees, and obviously there's other programs, but those are the two main ones. You have to pay for those, right? To get, up, but Discord is free. So essentially, right, how I said evening lectures and then praying, right? I will be praying. You will actually get to pray with me because I'm in the same house. So when I say I pray for 3 hours, I will say I'm going downstairs to pray for the next 2 hours. I will put that in the Discord. Hey, I am now going to go pray for 2 hours. So anybody within the vicinity, if you live in the city, if you live within Mercer County, you will be in the Discord so you can then come into the living room and join the other disciples and the members who are staying, and then you'll be there praying with the prophet on a Monday, on a Tuesday for 2 hours, rather than just being participator on a Friday, right? Because what I release to the world, I told you, what I release when I come on here, I'm not a prophet on here. I'm just teaching you the faith, right? And you only see me for an hour on a Sunday, an hour, maybe 40 minutes on a Wednesday, and maybe 20 minutes on a Friday, right? So rather than just being that access and being that proximity, when you move to Mercer County, you'll be in the Discord, and then you'll be with the people, right? You'll even be there seeing me do live trading, right? So that you might even benefit as well, because you want to learn how to trade. You can just, if I enter into a trade, you just mimic it, right? So I made $1,000 this week, right? Imagine if you just mimicked my trades, you would also make 1,000 the same week, right? So this is what I'm saying, that of what I'm going to be giving, right? So essentially, that's Kingdom Academy, that's Kingdom Housing, that's the Kingdom Church, and obviously, this is, once we do it, it's going to take off, and then it's just multiplication, really, just getting it replicated, doing it, Kingdom Housing Florida, Kingdom Academy Florida, Kingdom. So it's basically the time that I've invested in you guys, wherever it is that you are, is to replicate that in your city, right? So that's how you can be a participator. That if you have a family, or maybe renting a room is not what you want, you can then rent an apartment or whatever it is, which is not the best case, but it would be essentially moving to Mercer County, New Jersey, to be in the proximity of what's going on, and you'll be there, right? So you'll get the updates, right? Because you're also going to be working, because if you're listening to my services, I'm telling you, you need to be working, right? So you will also work from 7 to 3, 8 to 4, 9 to 5, right? And then you'll come home, you'll eat at your house, and then you'll receive the Discord message that, hey, this is the itinerary or the syllabus, because this is college, right? If you're going to take a room, it's not just for you to, it's not just so you to relax. No, it's going to be college, right, is going to be evening lectures that you don't have to join them either. You also have the freedom, right? Because you're just, at the end of the day, you're just a tenant, right? So at the end of the day, you're just a tenant. So even if you don't want to join the lectures, you don't have to, right? You're free. If you want to go and do something, you're free, right? So you're not shackled, because at the end of the day, it's seasonal. Just how college is seasonal, this is seasonal. So we're in spring right now, heading into summer, right? So let's say we're able to do this for the fall season. If after the fall season, right, when we enter into winter and you're one of the rooms renting a room and you say, no, this isn't for me, you can leave. There's no shackles. There's no tying you to it, right? You're just opening up a room for another person to join. So it's all seasons. That's why it's seasons and atmospheres, right? Just how college is seasons, right? You go to the fall season, there's the summer season, there's the winter season, right? But every evening there will be lectures, right? There will be teachings, there will be there. And if you're in the proximity, if you're in the area, you just need to be in the Discord and say, okay, I'm coming. I'm there every day, right? And that's pretty much that. So that's the revelation. It took me half an hour to explain it, but now let's go into the Bible, right? Because now what I'm going to tell you is it takes faith to hear, because the Bible says that faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So faith only comes by what you hear. So in order to get in this now, to reach out to me and say, I want one of those rooms, right? It takes faith to do that, because you have to believe it by what you hear. Because when I become a multimillionaire, when I have my mansion, I'm driving a Mercedes and a Porsche, it doesn't take faith, right? Because you see it now. You're Thomas, right? You see now by your eyes that this is where I need to be. And it's no different than Warren Buffett, than Elon Musk, and all these guys when they start their academies and their schools. Elon Musk has a school, and millions of people join. Why are people joining his school? Because they see the man who he is, the millions, the billions that he's done, and they want to replicate, they want to be like him, so they join his school, right? It doesn't take faith. That doesn't take faith. Because you just see, oh, okay, this guy knows more than me, he's a multi-billionaire, and he's now releasing everything in his, that's, a lot of people do that, right? A lot of people have schools and institutions that that millions of people or thousands of people join because they want to be just like the person who is revealing the information. So, a year from now, 2 years from now, when people are joining, right, and they want a kingdom room and they want to be a part of the kingdom house, or they join the community, that doesn't take faith. It's not faith, because they're using their eyes. They see this guy is already a millionaire, he's successful preaching and a minister, and he's traveling and what he's doing. It doesn't take faith. Like, when you look at the people that are doing it now, like Kenneth Copeland has his own school. Thousands, hundreds of thousands, right? All generals. If you look at every single general of the faith, they all started their own schools. It doesn't take faith to join that school, right? Because you are looking at what they've done. It takes faith to join now, to say, hey, I want to be a part of that room. I want a room. When you do it, I want to be the first, right? It takes faith because, why? Because I'm not just there yet, right? But when I'm there in the future, a year from now, 2 years from now, it doesn't take faith, right? Because, as I mentioned, that's why the revelation we're going to receive here today on atmospheres, because I'm going to give you two, because we're already half an hour in. So, I'm very excited because the Lord told me that it's in a year's time if I'm going to do it myself, right? In a year's time, within a year's time, if I do it myself. But if somebody steps up within the ministry and says, yeah, I want to be a partner, right? I'm going to partner with you in this business venture of acquiring a property, then we can do it within less than a month, really, less than 2 months. All this stuff can happen, and it's going to propel, right? But that's what I heard. That's what I've downloaded, right? Obviously, the Kingdom House and the Kingdom Academy is something that I received years ago, right? Like maybe a year and a half ago, I have it in my vision folder. But what I received within my prayers, because I'm now going deep in prayer, I received the logistics of it, right? And time frames. So I received that to do it on my own would take a year, but if And the Lord has given me all the logistics and all the proponents that when you read in the book of Chronicles, right, when they were building the temple, to west at Parbar and all these different things, that's what I'm receiving in those times. This is the logistics and how these things and the time frames and where we're going to be and all that stuff. Because how I told you that it's going to overflow. People are going to want to join. People are going to be coming and joining. That once we have the overflow, we take it, he already told, take it now to the Marriott in Princeton and get that space, because I already negotiated the price of how much it's going to cost. It's about $300 to $400 just for one service, right? And in those days, I'm already going to be making thousands of dollars trading in the market a day, not per week, because that's something that the Lord already told me, that I'm going to be making thousands of dollars a day. That what it takes me a week to make, $1,000 a week to make, I'll be making every day. So $300 for a space for 500, is nothing, right? So that's that. But here's the Bible verses for that, right? Varakadias. And as you can see, I'm very jubilated and I'm very excited because I received that, very recently, the logistics. Obviously, the vision, I received it long ago, and the Lord is going to say, the Lord is just revealing to me that this vision is going to be actualized within a year's time, because if I have to do it on my own, it'll be realized within a year's time. But if someone steps up within the ministry who wants to, right, who can see what I'm talking about, obviously I've already offered it. I'm going to be offering it to one person, but we're going to see what that looks like. You might just be able to get a room, right? So that's that. So let's go to the book of Genesis, right, chapter 30. Remember, we're talking about atmosphere for prosperity, right? This is an atmosphere to be in, that this is times and seasons. The Bible says that time and chance happeneth to them all. So you have to be able to discern the seasons. Even Jesus says that you can discern the weathers and the patterns of the skies, but you can't discern the seasons. You can't discern the times. This is the season, this is the time that you want to be a part of the most, right? Because a lot of things are going to be happening. Now watch this in the Bible, right? That here in the book of Genesis chapter 30, we read here Jacob is talking with Laban, right? And Laban is the father of Rachel and Leah. That in verse 26, Jacob says, "Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go. For thou knowest my service which I have done thee." Verse 27, "And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry. For I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake." Varakadias, oh my goodness. Verse 28, "And he said, Appoint me thy wages, and I will give it." So Laban's just saying, I have learned by experience that my prosperity simply came because of you and nobody else. And what did I just say? This is an atmosphere for prosperity. That most of you have probably learned by experience that God has blessed you in your life simply because of me. That's it. You know it for a fact that the reason why your life is the way that it is now simply because of me. Right? Because you know what your life was like before me. And you now know what your life is like after me. So imagine if you just moved within the same city, and now you moved and you were in the atmosphere, how much more those blessings would be, right? And this is in the Bible, right? And I'm going to reveal to you this, because this, as I said, this doesn't take faith, right? I'm going to show you something that takes more faith that's actually in the Bible, right? So he learned by experience. Once you have experience with me, it's not faith. I mean, it is faith, but it's a lesser faith. Because you learned by your experience. Some of you have been here for 2 years, a year, or whatever month, and God has done something in your life. Something that you know, that there's a brother that I always talk about, right? He just texted me yesterday, but there was something that happened. He always says prophet, and he still calls me Gary sometimes, and because he's a baby, he's still, learning. You should never call me by my first name anyway, but anyway, he's learning by experience. Right? And it's taking him a long time, but he knows, he says, Prophet, every time you reach out to me, every time you call me, I'm going to go do something that I shouldn't do. And I don't know how you do it, right? So he was telling me, and I already told him, like, I'm just that dangerous, right? So something happened yesterday. I was here praying, right? And I was here writing an article. So I was writing my next vlog, right? I was writing a vlog, vlog 2. And I had just got done praying for about 3 hours. So I got done praying for about 3 hours, and then I was writing for about 2, and I felt a great burden to pray. I already told you what burdens are, right? And I tell you, when I feel burdens, I do it immediately because my burdens can take me somewhere. My burdens, the last time I spoke about burdens, it took me to Princeton meeting that man of God. So I felt a great burden to pray. So I went downstairs and I began to pray. And then the Holy Spirit tells me, obviously, go outside. So I begin to go outside, and I'm just watching, the drivers, obviously, people smoking, and you can smell the marijuana, just the city and, all that stuff. And I text this brother, check up on him. And, every time I hear that stuff, I do. So immediately after I text him, he calls me later tonight and he's like, I can't believe what just happened. I want to send you something. And he sends it to me. And it happened again, right? But this time it was even more extreme. That the moment that I texted him was at 7:10. So I didn't even know the time that I texted him. It was only until he revealed to me later that it was the exact same time, right? So he said, look at the time you texted me. So I looked at the time I texted him. It was 7:10. And then he sent me a picture. And it was at the same time he was inquiring and talking with his sister to go to a bar to watch. I guess there was a fight yesterday between two people. I guess I don't know, a big fight or something, right? What do I know? I don't know none of that stuff. Not in the world. And it was at the exact same time. So as he sent the message, he got double. It was bing, bing. So it was one to go to the bar, and then one, and he was in his mind talking, right? He says, should I go to this place? And then he receives a message from a prophet. Imagine, I told you, when you receive a message from a prophet, it's almost as if God himself is texting you and talking to you, right? Because it is God. God is using me to reach out to him because God told me to reach out to him. So it's exactly like God. And it was at the exact same time. It was a double ping. Imagine that I'm just that sharp, right? I told you, I'm just dangerous, right? So what is that? That's experience. So he's slowly learning by experience because he tells me every time you reach out, it's something. So what is that? Experience, right? Some of you have learned by experience that, when I tell you to do things and the stuff and what I'm telling you, you're learning by experience that the way my life was before Prophet, I can tell it was disastrous. And if I continued on, it just would have continued. But after my life after Prophet now, I have a sense of direction. I have increased in wisdom and not. So what is that? Learned by experience. So imagine now, right, that you move to the city and you're now within the proximity. How much more augmented. And you see that, right? He says, Laban says, I pray thee. He says, he's praying that Jacob would not leave. And he even tells them, just tell me what you want. He even gives him a blank check. He says, appoint me thy wages. So that's a blank check, right? Imagine that the devil is trying to, you see, obviously, Jacob was already there, right? He labored 14 years, right? He's going on years, right? Years and years for women that now Laban wants him to stay. So he's tarrying, he's holding, because within Jacob is Israel, right? Within the loins of Jacob is the patriarch. So he's delaying what God's plans and God's purpose because of women, right? And obviously this is the plan of the enemy, that imagine that when God, this could happen anywhere where, you might want to leave a job and, then they want to keep you, and it's like, what do you want? I'll give you whatever salary you want. When God is calling you, maybe start that business, right? But these are just revelations that he says, appoint me thy wages. This is a blank check, and I will give it, right? And obviously, Laban doesn't want him to leave because he knows that the life Laban had before wasn't a life of prosperity and a life of blessings. It was only until Jacob came that God blessed Laban because of Jacob. So we see that God blesses people simply because of one person who he's with, right? And something that this brother said, that he's like, now I really know that God is talking to you, that God is with you, and that God favors you and uses you more than he does other people. This is what he was telling me. And this is what I've been telling him for like 2 years now. Imagine that it takes somebody 2 years that when I tell them things, they don't... Imagine if you just believed it at first sight. That's why the Bible says that faith cometh by hearing. Imagine if you just believed what I said. Imagine if he just believed what I said like years ago, right? But he doesn't, because he's a baby, because people are like that. And you can't blame people like that, right? Because why? They need to learn by experience, right? And so he's slowly experiencing how dangerous I am, right? That I can hear God that clearly. And I'm a seer, right? I'm watching over your lives, right? And the only reason, there's a lot there, right? So obviously, that's one example, right? And then Jacob, when you read it on, right, he says, and he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me, and whatever, right? So then you read that on, how we were doing on time. Okay. Experience. That takes not that much faith, right? It doesn't take that much faith to believe in someone, or to append yourself to someone, or to cleave unto someone when you have experience, right? Because you have experience with that person, and you know that God is with them, that you know that a move or something like that to continue on, you know, it becomes natural. What faith is now is the start of it, right? Is to believe what you hear, and then from believing what you hear, then to attach yourself. And then once you attach yourself, or once you join the ministry, then you will have your own personal experience that will then convince you that, yeah, God is really using. That's why I said every person that has come to this ministry, that is given and attached themselves for a moment, God has done something in their life, a miracle, a sign, a wonder, to prove to them by experience, so they can have the experience that God favors me, and that God uses me, and he's using me, and he's with me more than he is with others, right? And it's a one-time thing. And then you have to use your own faith to replicate it, right? Some of you have, heard my testimonies and things that I've done, and you've replicated. You've received some sort of healing. I prayed for you, and you received some sort of healing, something, or just by your own development, right? That's why I said, when you pray every day for the ministry, you need to pray against people leaving, because people come to this ministry, they give, and then they leave because the devil takes them somewhere else, right? And we need to pray against that. But it doesn't matter, because I already told you, within a year's time, people are not going to need faith, because they're going to see my life and how prosperous I am, and the life that I'm living, that they're going to want to be a part of this ministry and join, and they're going to want to be around me, right? They're going to desire to be around the prophet, and I'm not going to allow it. Right? So there's a lot of things with logistically that's going to take place, that it's going to be very, very difficult for you to be within my proximity, within there. You will just, the only time you will ever see me will be at church. That's it. Right? So there's a lot of things. Why? Because it doesn't take any faith. There's no faith more. There's no more faith, because you now see my success, right? You now see my life. And it doesn't take faith to see it, right? That's what you even have Thomas, right? He says, oh, if I see him, if I see the scars on his hands and on his feet, then I will believe, right? And what did Jesus say? He says, blessed are those who believe and do not see, right? Barakadias, because faith comes by what you hear. It doesn't come by what you see. That's the Bible. You see how the prophet sticks to the word? But do I have time to get into Ezekiel? Varakadias. If I do Ezekiel, I'm going to skip Ezekiel. Because Ezekiel, I'll give you this so you can do it on your own and see if you can catch the revelation on your own. But it's Ezekiel 28:12 to 16, and this is the account of the devil, of how the devil, just by being within the proximity of God, right? Because he was the covering cherub of his beauty and his wisdom and all this thing, that being within my proximity and learning what you're going to learn, and you're going to have these secrets, and you're going to see how money is not real, and you're going to that by having all that wisdom, the devil will tempt you, right? And there's chances for you to be corrupted, just as the devil was corrupted because of his beauty, the Bible says he sealeth up the sum in beauty. So that means in mathematics, when you get to the sum, to the end of it, there is no more. That's the sum. The devil, there is nobody more beautiful than him. After Christ, he seals up the sum, right? Simply by just being within the proximity of God, by walking up and down the coals of fire. So I covered it briefly because of time, right? But if you read it yourself, it's Ezekiel 28, right? 12 to 16, because we're going to move on, right? How are we doing, right? And now I'm going to give you something that is faith. And when I give you this, I'm not even going to go to Ruth because of time. So I'll do it in a part 2. I'm going to end it here because I gave you already by experience that Laban learned by experience the prosperity that came with attaching yourself to a prophet. Because obviously Abraham was a prophet, and obviously Jacob is the son, right, of Isaac, and so they are prophets in nature. So you can see that Laban knew that just being with a prophet who God has chosen, God has favored, that when you attach yourself to that, you know that the only reason why I'm receiving these blessings is simply because I'm listening to God's prophet. And obviously that's in the book of Chronicles, that when you believe in the prophets, you will receive prosperity. Right? That's 2 Chronicles 20:20. And then once you believe the prophets, then you use your own faith to build upon the grace which the prophet has, and then that's how you go off and you use, your own faith to, you use the faith and the teachings that you receive. So this is the season. I'm telling you, this is the season to begin planning, saving up money to want to make that move to this city, right? Because I'm telling you, within a year's time, if I do it myself, or if we get somebody, obviously, and we're going to be doing the first church. So the start of the kingdom church is the first church, is the book of Acts, right? Where we're all going to be pooling our resources, sharing everything in common, and, the house, the ministry is going to be in a house, right? And then people who are living within the city, you just come over, and you'll be in the living room, we'll have seats there, and then you're attending Sunday services, right? So this is the season. This is the time and the atmosphere to begin to really think about that and want to either have a room or to maybe rent an apartment in this city, whatever the case is. So, Genesis 39. I want to show you something that's even greater than faith. Right. Where there is no experience. Right. Because I'm about to read to you something. I know that you've probably read the Bible and you've read this, but you haven't just caught it like I'm about to deliver it. You see, that's what Revelation is. Right? Because once I finish Genesis, I can even go to Ruth, right? But I'm not. I'll leave that for the second. But I'm going to end it here on Genesis 39, right? I wrote it here. It's 39, 2 to 6. All right. Now, Genesis 39. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt. And Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down hither. Okay? If some of you that read the story, you know that Potiphar was the officer of Pharaoh's captain, and he bought Joseph, right? This is in every drama and every play on Netflix and at any church, right? But watch, I bet you didn't really catch this revelation as you're going to receive it. And the Lord was with Joseph. Are you getting this now? You see, there's a difference when the Lord is with somebody and when he is not. So you can read this, and the Lord was with Gary. You see, just how has this brother, his own word says, now I know that the Lord is with you and that he's speaking to you and that he's using you and that he favors you more than others. This is his own words. Last night, conversation. Him, learned by experience, took him 2 years to get to that level, right? by experience that he now knows how much more you that are actually a member and that you've been watching, that you know that the Lord is with me. And I don't know, time and time and time and again, the Lord is proving it to you. So we see this now, right? And the Lord was with Joseph, right? We know that the Lord is with Joseph because we're reading it, right? We're reading outside looking in, right? We're from the third point perspective, right? We're in the outside perspective reading in. So we know that the Lord is with Joseph because it's written in the text, right? Because it's written. Now watch this now. I know you've never received this the way you're about to receive this, because only prophets have the grace to be able to exposit these divine truths. And he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. How do you see that? How do you see that the Lord is with someone, having no experience? You see? How? What kind of faith? Some of you don't even, the majority of Christians don't even have the faith as an Egyptian of this guy, right? Because everybody wants to see, right? And they want to see miracles. What kind of faith does it take? I'm just going to keep reading. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. Verse 4, and Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house. Oh my God. Imagine you buy a slave and you make a slave an overseer over your house? Are you stupid? Are you mad? Are you crazy? I'm going to reveal it to you in layman terms real soon. And he made him overseer over his house, and all that he had, he put into his hand. Oh my God! What are you doing, Egyptian? What are you doing? Are you stupid? Why are you doing something like... Do you know how ridiculous this sounds? The reason why you don't see the ridiculousness is because you're reading it firsthand. But I know that none of you would do this because he's a prisoner. That's like you going to the penitentiary, right? Going to the prison in your city, seeing somebody, I see that the Lord is with you. And then you take that prisoner, you bring him to your house, and then you give him your millions, you give him your thousands or your hundreds of thousands or your 10,000s, your savings, and you say, here, I'm going to give you my house and everything that is mine, I give it into your hand. Do with it whatever you will, right? Because I see that the Lord is with you. You have no experience. Oh my God. I can't believe I just gave you this. You see, this is why I hate, you don't realize how dangerous I am. That all these secrets that I have, if I keep them, I told you, I don't need to do any of this. That my job that I have, I'm going to reveal to you my budget sheet because you guys are my members, you guys are my viewers, right? That's the only reason why I reveal it to you, right? That my budget sheet, this room is $550 a month, right? As I told you, I myself take my own wisdom and counsel. $550 a month room, and I tell you with food and everything, utilities and all, so it's like $770, something like that. And I get paid $3,076. So I just revealed to you what I get paid at my job as an account executive for a logistics company. So I pay 10% tithe and 10% offering. So I don't tell you to do that. There's only one person in the ministry who does 10%, 10%, right? In both tithe and offering, right? And I don't know how long he's able to keep it up because, again, it's the discipline, right? Again, I haven't talked to him and told him, but it's discipline, right? That it hurts. It hurts to see your money go away, right? So what? I do 10% offering, 10% tithe, because the Bible doesn't tell you how much you give in offering, right? That's something that you discuss with the Holy Spirit and what your conscience is able to bear. So my conscience, you learn this within the prophetic, that your conscience also plays into, it's not the voice of God, but it plays into it, right? Because the voice of God is the Spirit. Your conscience is in your soul, right? So your conscience plays into that. So I can't give less than 10% offering, because if I try to do it, my conscience will bear on me. So that right there is $600 a month just in giving from that, right? So it's about 300, right? So it's about 150 tithe and 150 offering bi-weekly, right? Because that's what I make at my job, right? And then obviously the stocks and things, it's different, right? It's the same principle. So if I make $1,000, that's 100 tithe and 100 offering. And then I even give seeds. So when I do a seed, right, which is what I'm going to be doing, because I've taught you seeds, and I don't want to cover that now. I don't want to get carried away, but what I'm trying to say is, right, that I don't need to do any of this. Right? I can keep all the secrets that I have and live life and not share it with anyone, right? But that doesn't benefit the body of Christ, right? So that's 600 there, 700. So my net every month is like 1,400, right? So by the end of this year, I can have like 9,000 in cash, right? And I'm totally fine, right? And I made $1,000 just last week, right? And so that means I'll even reveal to you what's in my trading account. I only have 4,000 in my trading account because I took everything out to pay my debt off, right? So I rebuilt it again. So if I made $1,000 that week, that means I only had 3,000 in my trading account, right? So now I have 4,000. And I will reveal to you in April, today is April 23rd, 2023, right? I will reveal to you what my trading account is next month. On April, whatever that service falls on, I'll reveal to you what my trading account is then, right? So you can see the prosperity and the growth, and that's the same when you come to the Kingdom House and when you become a part of it. You'll see it. You'll even trade as I trade, right? And even if you live in the city, if you live within the field, right, whatever, you can still just come over when the Discord is sent out, and you can, if you catch the lecture, if on that day, on the syllabus, whatever the syllabus says, that the day that we are going to be discussing trading, you can be in the audience, right, and join the lecture, right, in those days. But what I'm revealing to you is that I'm building my wealth, right? So even if, let's say, I don't make nothing in my trading account from here to next year, nothing, right? Which is impossible. That with the 9,000 of net income, right? Because that's the bottom line, because it's about 1,400 that I have left over after all tithes and offerings paid off at 10%, right? All the bills and everything from 3,000 comes down to 1,400 around there. So that's about 9,000 and some change. That 9,000 would then be 9,000, about 13,000 in a trading account. And you know that within trading, the more money that you have, the larger positions you can get and the greater the reward, right? So what am I saying? That I don't need to do any of this, that I can just live a life like this where I'm renting a room, trading, and I don't have to work, because then my trading can just pay for the room, and then I can just travel the world. I can, go to countries, I can do whatever I want, right? I don't have to keep revealing these secrets and these mysteries like this to people. That's why I said I'm done I'm done going out with people. Like I'm done hanging out with other Christians who are not grateful, right? I would give them these revelations, and they would treat it like nothing. They wouldn't even give to the ministry nothing, right? So that's why I only give it to you guys, because you guys are the only ones that invest in this thing. So imagine, that is like going to prison, going to a penitentiary, a local one, finding somebody in there and saying, I see that God is with you, and I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to give you my investments. I'm going to make you overseer over my stock trading account, my investing account, my real estate account, all simply because he sees that the Lord is with him. No experience. He's had no experience with Joseph. He just saw that the Lord is with him and said, oh, this guy, I can see. How? So the question now becomes, how do you now see? Well, when you look at this verse, in the Hebrew, it's Ra. And that's what prophets use. It's the prophetic insight. This is revelation. That the only way you see this is by revelation. Right? It's Ra, which is you even see my father, he'll take that acronym, Ra, and you'll even hear him go, Ra, when he's prophesying. That's that word. Right? So this is a type of, it's a type of divination that only comes by revelation. And this Egyptian was able to see that the Lord is with him. Right? So what have you seen in me? Because I told you, when I become a multimillionaire and when I'm doing all this, there's no more Ra. Ra doesn't take into place because you can just see that the Lord is with him. He's a multimillionaire, he's blessed, he's a minister, he's prophesying, he's doing all this stuff, and he's got a church. There is no more Ra, right? Because Ra doesn't exist at that point, because now you're seeing is physical. That the glory has now put on the physical, right? It's the same thing with prophets and, the generals like Kenneth Copeland and all those guys. Like, you don't need to see that the Lord is with him. You can just tell by his life, the life that they lived, the things that they've done for the Lord, and all that stuff, that the Lord is with him. So there is no more seeing, right? So this seeing is the seeing that is required now to know and to believe what you're hearing, because you don't see it, right? Because you're just listening to somebody in a room preaching. All you have seen is somebody in a room preaching. And this is why people leave, right? This is why people come and they leave, right? Because all they see is somebody, they see a kid, right? They just think I'm a kid. They think I'm just like everybody else in his room preaching, right? So what they do is, this is why I don't like people, right? Because when the day comes, everybody that is left, I don't ever want them to come back. Because even if they come back, it's kind of like, what? You were here before, and now you're coming back to join my ministry now when I'm in my glory? Like, it doesn't take any faith for that, right? So what is it? They can't see that, and what they see is their type of seeing isn't Ra. It's their type of seeing is a different type of seeing, which is the physical. So they would rather go to their powerless preacher and to their powerless church, because that guy's on a stage. Oh, he's a hireling on a stage, and they got the place and stuff. What is that? That person is not chosen by God, because he can't do the things that I do, right? And he can't hear God from himself, right? He doesn't know how to communicate with God. He doesn't know how to perform miracles. But what happens? Their type of seeing is, well, there's a physical location, they have a church, and the church doesn't even belong to him. He's a hireling. It belongs to the institution, right? It belongs to the board of directors, who you've never seen. I'm not going to get into that, because if I get into that, right? Because all these denominations, they're ruled by a board of directors with a president who you never see. And they're the ones that appoint ministers, hired pastors, salaried pastors, right? For that denomination and that region and that district. And you go there because you see with a different type of seeing. You're a Thomas, basically. Unless you see physically with your hands that, okay, this is that. This type of seeing is different. This is what the Egyptian had, right? This is Ra, where you see by revelation. That you're able to see everything that I just revealed to you. The vision of this ministry, the vision of the Kingdom Project. And I say vision because there's only two branches, right? Which is the Kingdom Academy and the Kingdom Housing. If you can see that, everything just by my words, because everything is words, right? The Bible says that the power of life and death is in words. If you can see everything that I just said by words, right? Then that is Ra. Right? That is what I, the prophet, use, because that is what I saw a year and a half ago. And I have it. I can turn the camera this way, and you can see the box. I have a visions folder. I'll just grab it. I think I've showed you guys this before. Right? What does it say there? It says, visions for the future. And this is archived. This, years. right? That is what I used, Ra. But who gave me Ra? The Lord, the Holy Spirit. It's a gift, right? So the Lord ministered to me that you will see that thing which you planned out a year ago, a year from now by yourself. But if other people can use that ability and hear, and from this sermon, because this sermon was given to me by the Lord, that if any of the members wish to stand up and to join, then that's what they're going to be using. Then that will be accelerated. That it won't be 6 to 8 to a year. That it would actually be in a couple months and you would see it. And then you're going to be, well, no, something is taking place, right? So what is it? That's just 2 branches of the ministry, of the Kingdom Project. Kingdom Academy and Kingdom Housing. I haven't even revealed to you Kingdom Music, right? I haven't even revealed to you Kingdom Fund, right? So there's a lot of other things that I have written already, that I've foreseen the future with Ra, and I've seen everything, the logistics of how all the things are going to be operating and running. And it's only either this year or next year that you will see the manifestations of the Kingdom Church, Kingdom Housing, Kingdom Academy. But what you have seen Kingdom Church, you have seen Kingdom Academy, virtually, right? Because this is Kingdom Church. This is Kingdom Church. Except when you see Kingdom Church manifested in the physical, you will then just see people sitting in the pews like this, receiving Kingdom Church. But Kingdom Church started way back. It was Ra way back. It was a vision way back years ago, right? So what I'm giving you, these are secrets. These are prophetic insights. So this is Ra, right? What this Egyptian used is Ra, right? Raha. And even when you hear prophet, right? When he says that, that's this word that appears there, right? And so in verse 5, it says, "And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake." So we see that the Lord blesses, that the Lord blesses other people just for the sake of one person. Right? So if you begin to think that the blessings that I have been receiving was for my own sake, then you're mistaken. Right? The only reason that your life has changed and shifted, that you know that my life was a certain way before prophet, and that my life is now different after prophet, is simply because the Lord has blessed you, because you joined yourself to my house. So it was simply for my sake, because you listened to the prophet whom God has chosen and sent. While the other people are not. They are using a different site, which is not Ra, because the people that left this ministry, they left to join another ministry, physically, because they can see the physical manifestation of a hireling and other Christians there attending. So they didn't want to wait, right? Where the Lord has now given me the timetable, He's saying definitely within a year, or if someone joins you within that business venture of the house, then it will be even shorter than that. That's the manifestation. That's the timetable, right? So I already received the time. That's why I'm so jubilated. That's why I'm so excited, because I've been waiting for the timetable of when this vision would come to pass. Because I know that that's something that has been inhibiting people from believing this, because they think, oh, this is just some kid, some whatever in his room preaching. And he's been preaching in his room for 2 years. So people leave here because they would much rather go to their powerless preacher who has the thing already set up. But the Bible says in Zechariah that God does not despise small beginnings, but He rejoices to see the start of it. You see, this is just wisdom, right? Oh, I'm so excited. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. Right? So in verse 5, we see that, "And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house, and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake." So again, what happened to Laban, that God blessed Laban's house, right, because of Jacob's sake, we see God doing it again because of Joseph's sake. So it doesn't matter. Whoever God chooses, God will bless that person's house simply because of the person he chose. So this is why you can see that it's very important to what house that you're attached to. And the house that you get attached to is simply by your tithe. Because the moment you switch up your tithe, that is now when you switch up your house. And then when you switch up your house, that's why the blessings change. Because if you are giving to other people, if you give to this church and to this church and to this church, then you don't know which house the blessing is coming from. You're going to think that it's coming from my house, you're going to think that it's coming from the house of the church that you're attending, the powerless one. When in reality, that simple giving or that partnership, that $30 or $40, that the blessings that you are actually receiving in your house, in your life, is coming from that church and not the one that you're attending. And there are people who are partners within this ministry that are receiving blessings, right, in their life, and they probably think that they're receiving those blessings of the church that they're attending, but really the blessings that are receiving are coming from that little small giving that they're giving here. Because God has chosen me, that the favor is here. And I gave you the scriptures to prove it. And I gave you 2 examples. One that's provided by experience, that Laban learned by experience. This Egyptian didn't have experience. He used Ra. He used that prophetic insight, that seeing, that is a gift. Right. Varrakadia sepri negretus. 2 examples that I gave you. And I can't believe I just gave you this. Right. Something like this is unquantifiable in terms of wealth and worth. Right. And then in verse 6 it says, and he left all that he had in Joseph's hands. Imagine. Everything that you have. That means that my 4,000 that I have in my trading account and all my money, I just give it to somebody and say, here, you manage it. Right. And then you begin to, that's what a hedge fund is. And I just told you Kingdom Fund, but I changed the name. So obviously the business that I'm going to I'm going to be a successful hedge fund manager. 100%. Right. And, you know, that's what a hedge fund is what basically people give you their money and you manage their money and then you get a 2 and 20. Right. Nevertheless, and he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had. So that means, and he knew nothing of what he had. Imagine, that's what a hedge fund is. That people don't really know, they give the money away to somebody, and they don't really know what they're making, except every quarter when they give the quarterly statements, the fund is up 20%, the fund is up 30%, and then you kind of know. So this guy, he had no idea of what he was making and how prospering was, right? And it says, save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. So he didn't even know what everything was worth. He just knew that it was increasing, and he knew that he was eating every day. So every day he would have bread at the table. There would be food there. So he knew, oh, if we have food at the table every day, then we're prosperous. We're moving, right? Because we have food every single day. So he didn't know where everything was coming from. All he knew, all the Egyptian knew, that this guy, the Lord is with him. And since God, Jehovah, the one who created the universe, is with him, I'm just going to give him everything. That type of seeing, it takes Ra to see that. And that's the revelation. That's the atmosphere for prosperity, the atmosphere of the prophet, the atmosphere, the time and the season that, do you have something like that where you're at? Right? In your city, in your town, do you have an atmosphere like that? If you don't, then you might want to decide moving that atmosphere to be a partaker of this season, because this is a season, this is a push, right? Because we're going to be doing it quickly, it's going to be rapid. That you might want to move in Mercer County. And even if you move within Mercer County, right, you can still be part of what we're doing, right? Because when I say I'm going to go pray, right, we can go to a park or something. We can do, like, there's a lot of things that can happen, that can take place, right? So that's it. How are we on time? An hour and 18 minutes, right? So that's the revelation. That's the message God gave me to give, to release out there. And obviously, you know, as I mentioned, one of the brothers I told him I'm going to talk to him, but I'm going to send him a message and tell him, I want you to watch this sermon first, and then we'll discuss, right? And then that's pretty much it, right? So that's the revelation. There's a lot of other verses I left out, and I guess if I do a part 2, I'll reveal it in part 2. But the reason why I'm not revealing it now is because of time, right? But again, if you were here in the proximity of the prophet, in the atmosphere, and in that times, in those seasons when we are there, I will end the service still at an hour or so, right? I will say, okay, now, because of time, whatever, we're ending. But because you are in the proximity, when everyone goes home, you can still stay, and I can give you the part 2. I can give you the rest of the revelation, right? Because you're in the proximity. So that's about it. That's it for today. That's the revelation. Hopefully you caught it. Hopefully, that's all I can say is hopefully you caught it. And I only gave you 2 verses, really. I gave you Ezekiel too, but I didn't go into that because of time. And I didn't go into Ruth because of time. And there's another Genesis, and there's even Corinthians, and there's even Psalms. So I didn't get into any of those verses because of time. All right, so that's going to be it. Be sure to go ahead and give your tithe and your offering down below at GaryRojas.com. All the money you guys give, whatever it is, whatever you seed, whatever you tithe, whatever you give an offering, it's going to be, that's it. Because that's what the Lord wants me to do. It's to get the kingdom housing. Because if I get the house, then the kingdom church is in the house. That solves the problem that I've been having of trying to get a location, trying to get a place. That solves the issue. And then it also benefits the people who join, because it benefits them because they will learn everything they need to be successful in life. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. So all the money, everything that people give, whether you give 1,000, you sow a seed, whatever it is, everything is going to be shifted now and allocated to that from this point on. So looking to the future, am I thinking to, reveal those? Yeah, I'm, revealing all those branches so people can kind of get an idea, but, I just already revealed to you 2 here. Right, and you can kind of extrapolate it and see it, that in the future, obviously the graduates that are going to be graduating is so that they can go out and evangelize, and the people that are here, they will also, evangelizing, right? You will see me evangelize, you will see me heal people, you will see me cast out demons, right? So you will see it. If I go out there to evangelize and say, hey, we're going to evangelize today because we need to do this, right? And we see somebody that is sick or something, I will pray for them. I will heal him. And you've seen the TikTok video of me praying for the guy in New York with the other guy and him receiving healing. So you'll see it firsthand. You'll learn the secrets firsthand. And your only tuition is renting a room, $550. It's like a no-brainer, right? It's like, am I going to go off to college and spend $40,000 for something that is useless? Or am I going to learn the things that are necessary for life? I'm going to have a full-time job. I'm going to learn the things of business, negotiate all secrets, all this stuff. And my only tuition is $550. But again, that's in this season, because I mentioned to you, in the future, it's limited by how many houses we can purchase, how many dormitories we can purchase, and then it kind of just extends to a virtual, right? You would have to replicate it virtually by renting a room just in somebody's house, right? Because if you want to be within the city of the prophet, you would have to either rent an apartment in the same city or in another locality, or you have to rent a room in somebody else's house, paying them $600, $700, and you don't have the benefits of being in a kingdom house, right? So that's the university, that's the college, that's the vision of Kingdom Academy. Kingdom Academy is college for Christians, but where they receive the prophetic, the healing, the miracles, the signs, the wonders. They receive it all firsthand by their prophet, by their teacher, by their master, right? And I'm going to be shifting, I'm actually going to be changing my name. So I'm going to be changing it, and the reason why I'm going to be changing it is to disguise myself. Because I need to take measures I'm going to be taking measures to sort of protect myself. So my name now moving forward is going to be Teacher Gary Rojas. So obviously in Ephesians it talks about the 5 ministries: prophet, pastor, evangelist, teacher, apostle. I'm going to take that office, that teacher office, right? Even when I'm giving my sermons, it's going to be teacher. But does that mean that you should call me? No, you can call me whatever you want. But again, I already see, the thing is, I can't, it's difficult because you guys watch all my videos, right? So you know Hosea 9:8 that the prophet is a trap. So you already know I'm setting a trap. So does that mean you should call me teacher? Yeah, if you want. But you get what I'm saying? So it's a trap that I'm setting now for people, right? And the fact that I'm even revealing this, I shouldn't reveal it, right? So when I do my tracks and when I do my promotions and all these things, when I hand them out to people, right, on the advertising and on these sermons moving forward, you know how it always says Prophet Gary, it's not going to say that anymore. It's going to say Teacher Gary Rojas. Why? Because in order for you to see that I'm a prophet, it's going to take Ra. You're going to now need to use Ra. But the thing is, I've already made so many videos where prophet is there that, you know, when people call me teacher, I know they haven't yet learned the revelation of who I am. So I've disguised myself from them. But when you call me prophet, I now know that the cat's out of the bag and you've already seen these videos and you know who I am and you know I'm also your father, right? In that sense. But I'm doing that as a precautionary measure to divide a lot of things. And again, I can't explain that because these are secrets, right? So maybe in this video, I have to figure out how I can edit the text because I have to, because the person who made it for me designed it with prophet. So I have to get the actual template and then change it to teacher. And then I'm probably going to change my TikTok handle in the future to also like professor or teacher. And then everything that I hand out will be teachers. So then that way it separates people. So when I go out to different states and different countries, people will just say teacher, teacher, rather than prophet. And then the people who say prophet, it's different because the Bible says that when you receive a righteous man in the name of a righteous man, you receive a righteous man's reward. But when you receive a prophet in the name of a prophet, you will receive a prophet's reward. And I did a sermon on that already. So it's to distinguish people with revelation. It's to distinguish people with Ra and the people who don't have Ra, right? Or Ra. So it's kind of like, yeah. And it would distinguish people from this video. That if they knew or watched this video or seen this video, it would distinguish them as well. Because if people that join in the future, right, I've already preached somewhat 90 sermons around there, right? I have to calculate that by the time these people join in the future, they're going to know me as teacher. So for them, they would have to go all the way back. Then they're going to see prophet and they're not going to understand because they don't know nothing about prophets. So they would have to find this video out of like the 90 and the 100 where I revealed that I'm now doing this and the reason why I'm not doing it. Because in the future, when people ask me the question and if I ever get on an interview or whatever and people ask me the question, you used to be prophet, but now you're a teacher. What's the reason? I'm not going to tell them, right? They need to investigate and find out the reason why. They need to know the scriptures why. They need to know Hosea 9:8, right? And again, I'm doing it as a precautionary measure to protect myself from people. Because I told you, the Bible says that the dogs are in the house. He says, beware of the dogs. Paul says that. So if Paul says, beware of dogs, when you put that sign, beware of dogs, you put it on the outside of the house to warn people outside that there are dogs inside. So the snakes, the scorpions, the dogs, they're in the house. Those are the Christians. So you need to protect yourself from Christians. You don't need to protect yourself from unbelievers. Because the unbelievers, you already know who they are. You know they're sinners. You know that's how they're going to act. You know that's how they're going to treat you. So you expect that from them. So you're on your guard. But the thing is, Christians, they let their guard down around other Christians. And they accept every Christian as like if they're a saint. Right? So this moving forward, because once I become a multimillionaire, once I become big, I have to protect myself, right? There's measures that I have put in place. There's things that I've written in here that God has told me you need to do these things so that way I can discern spirits even better because I'm revealing too much. But it's because I love you guys. It's because you guys are the members. You guys actually sit here and watch an hour and 30 minutes through. Everything that I give you is to create a carbon copy of myself. so that you can go out and be a god on this planet, on this earth, that you can be disastrous, that when people look at you, they say, this guy is a problem. No, we don't mess with brother so-and-so. We don't mess with sister so-and-so because she's a problem. That God is with her because she listens to a prophet which is above her. You don't mess with them. That's what I'm trying to get to you guys. I'm going to reveal to you something right now. I actually slid into somebody's DMs, right? A woman, like a woman of God, right? Me, the prophet, right? Like I actually reached out to somebody, and I'm telling you, these are things that I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but obviously when I do it, it's not like the way the sinners do it. It was like a friendly type of thing, you know, like a kind of, you know, me like interested in that person. And they ignored me, right? Because I guess they saw that they were better than me or greater than me, and they didn't really know who I am. And they had an Instagram account. We had like the similar amount of like following, right? And I've told you things like this in the past. I forgot about it, right? Like I just said, okay, it doesn't matter. Like I don't care. Like this stuff is, you know, whatever. That person's account, their Instagram account got hacked and they lost the Instagram account. So you might think, that person might think, oh, this is the devil, right? It's not. I have personal experience with God that, and it's like things that like it doesn't even matter, right? So imagine you have an Instagram account that has like 50,000 followers, and because you ignored a king, because you ignored a prophet, that account got hacked and now you lost it and now you have to build a new one. And you don't even know from where it came from. I'm telling you, this is how dangerous I am. And I've told you things before. I've told you the thing about with the pastor's daughter, right? How the pastor's daughter began to, you know, treat me differently for some sort of reason, how it kind of like infuriated me because they were so nice at first and then they kind of shifted that I forgot about it again. I left it at my altar, and what happened? I was scrolling through Instagram and I don't follow none of these people, right? You guys know who I follow. I follow my father, my mother, the son, and pastor, right? And I'm like, what am I seeing? And it's the same woman with a cast on her foot. And when you read that verse in the Bible, it actually means foot, right? It means to step over someone. And there's so many testimonies. I already told you the testimony with the operations manager. The operations manager was making my life difficult, and she fell down a ladder, right, and hurt her back, and was like sick for an entire week. So these things that I tell you, right, that when you get to this level, you become dangerous, right? That it's me to create a carbon copy of myself with you, right? That everything that I know, everything that I have is to give to you so that way you become more dangerous than me. That's really what it is. Because we're dealing with time. I'm getting, the older I get, right, the younger you are, the better. Because if I can create a carbon copy of myself in you, my hope and my desire is that you become more dangerous than me. So that people don't mess with you, right? That you know the power that you have, that you can really actually ruin someone's life if you wanted to. I already told you that I have the power to kill people, like in the sense of like, this was revealed to me in a vision that if somebody really messed me up, that I have the power to take that person's life, in the sense, in the spiritual realm, that things would happen, that it will come to pass in several months that that person would just die, right? And this is what my father says. Now I don't even know why I'm talking. My father says that the power of a prophet, this is what he said live, right? Like he teaches this stuff. That the power of a prophet, a true prophet, it is not in his ability to give life and to heal people. You can just watch it. It's somewhere in one of his sermons, right? He says it live. That the power a prophet contains within himself and his relationship with God is not his ability to prophesy and to heal people and to give life. It's his ability to take life. It's his ability to stop the oxygen from entering into your respiratory system. For him to say a word, to say, it shall come to pass that in 3 months' time you shall not live. Right? And then you see this in the Bible, right? Like, you might think this is crazy, but it's not, because you see it in the Bible that Elijah,
He was just sitting, meditating. Elijah would preach a sermon and people would die. Fire come down from heaven, consume people, soldiers of 50. The prophet Elijah would say to Jezebel that the dogs shall lick off your carcass, and it comes to pass. So a prophet's ability, his power, is not in his ability to heal. It is not in his ability to give life, but his power to take it. But because I'm merciful, and because I know that Jesus, the Lord, came to me in a vision and revealed it to me, that I have this power, right? And I'm not going to share, I think I shared with you the vision some time ago, that I can actually do a few things at my altar and I can take your life. But I need to do spiritual things first, right? There needs to be something. But because I have this power, will I ever use it? No. I've told myself, no matter how angry I get, no matter how frustrated I get, I would never use this power because I don't want people to go to hell, right? But what happened to this woman, I totally forgot about it. Like, I was just like, that doesn't matter, whatever, right? Like, you know, I don't even know why I did it, to be honest. And then I had forgotten about it, and it's only when I came back to Instagram that I saw the account was hacked. And it was changed to something new, and I went to the new account, and then the new account said, my last account was hacked. And I was like, I bet you this woman has no idea that it was because she ignored a king and ignored a prophet, right? So it's interesting, you know, but this is power. This is the stuff that I give, right? And you guys have the same thing because you're under my grace. You just have to believe it, right? So don't let anybody mess with you. Nobody should mess with you, right? Because you have the Almighty to back you up, all right? So what is it? An hour and 30 minutes in, I already said give your tithes and your offerings, so I'm going to quickly pray for you and then we'll close. Father, I just want to thank you, Lord, for this day. I want to thank you for everything that you're doing in my life and in the lives of the members and the viewers all around the world. And I just pray for this revelation. I pray for this message that it may enter deep into their spirits, that they may awaken, that they may catch the revelation, that they may arise and become mighty men of valor and women of valor in their cities and in their towns. And I just pray for their healing wherever it is that they are, from the crown of their head to the soles of their feet. Let them be healed from any infirmities that is troubling them. If they are being afflicted by evil spirits, let that affliction lift off. Let them feel lighter in their tabernacles, in their flesh. And let that spirit drift off of them now, in Jesus' name. Let it happen now. It's happening now. Any headaches, any neck pains, any joint pains, all of it is leaving you now. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen and amen. Father, I pray for their tithe. I pray for their giving. I pray for their offering. Let it be sanctified. Let it be made holy. In Jesus' mighty name. Amen and amen. All right, it is happening. It is taking place. I'm not going to edit this video because it's already getting late. It's already 5:50 and this is hour and 30. If I have to edit the actual video, it's going to take 2 hours and then 2 hours to upload. Now I'm just going to put it through the system. So no verses, nothing are going to pop up. You need to open up your Bibles, and then it should take about an hour or so to render and upload, and it should be up for tonight. So all right, I'll see each and every single one of you guys next week, this Wednesday, for either an academy lesson or a Bible study. God bless.